Good evening, everyone. This is Joe Henches with Beyond the Chart, and this is the stock market analysis for today. Today is Thursday, May 8th, 2014. The Dow Industrials were up 32.5 points today, but it's a little bit of a mixed result. The tech stocks were getting hurt again. Let's come back. We look at this. I mean, the NASDAQ was down 16. You could see this move where it broke the trend line yesterday, and now, it pulled back. Well, now it came back down and started to penetrate back down into that territory that it had gone yesterday. So, but it's a doji bar. It's not a strong negative picture in here. So I'm not quite sure what to make of that, except for the fact that it's negative. Now, on the Dow, on the other hand, we have this trend line in here that was broken. And now we had this pullback yesterday and follow through again today. So we got some follow through to the upside, but then it pulls back. Okay, so the bears took control in the afternoon, the second half of the day, and sold it back down. So it almost looks like in this picture like a little bit of a come back and kiss the trend line type of move. So we'll have to watch and see. Now, I don't see that on one or two of these others. Well, here, the S&P 500, it looks like a perfect pullback to the trend line for a kiss goodbye. Now, this is a doji here today. So the S&P 500 is down 2.57 points. So yeah, the Dow up, the S&P down, the NASDAQ down. Well, I tell you again, I mean, look at this. When you look at this picture from this standpoint, it's sideways. Okay, this is the frustrating thing that we've been dealing with over the last couple of weeks. We just talked about the NASDAQ. Okay, it sure looks like it wants to break down here and wants to move to the downside. And again, you can let me draw over here with this. I mean, you could draw a support line in here, kind of a neckline to a certain degree, almost like a little bit of a shoulder, head, shoulder. This shoulder did not get as much. If this truly is what it's doing, it did not get as strong as this left shoulder did. But for a scenario's sake, let's go ahead and put this in here and see what happens. I'm going to color that red. I'd like to have, well, now color that. There we go. All right. Now let's take a look at the Russell 2000. The Russell was more negative in terms of its picture. Now it's starting to get a little bit into the oversold on the RSI. It's starting to break down. Here's this dotted line for this point here, but more negative than the NASDAQ even today. Continuing the downtrend. The New York Composite. Now, as opposed to what the S&P 500 did and the Dow did, I mean, the New York Composite is back above this trend line. So, I don't know, it's kind of hard to, I mean, it's still going sideways, but it's a little bit out of sync with the S&P 500 and the Dow. So I'm not sure what to make of that. Short-term trading index is still in the middle, hanging in the middle. So not giving us any kind of signal one way or the other. We're going to continue to check it because at some point, this is not going to continue. I mean, it's just nothing lasts forever. And the VIX down here, it's hanging down the low range, 13.43. So again, we're down in that mode where, versus being up in the upper 20s and 30s. I mean, we're in this mode where typically it will start to move to the high side, and after a certain amount of congestion down in here. So no new signal there. Let's see if we can go ahead and look at the HighLow index. Now this looks like it's almost trying to break out of this downward channel, but I'm also seeing a little bit of a wedge type consolidation in here. So I'm a little suspicious. We'll have to see if we get further move up to the upside. Number one, we got to get above this point, and then of course get above this point if we're really going to break and go. And then of course, these 2 points here. But the interesting thing is this kind of congestion. Is it gonna hold, or are we is it gonna give us some kind of signal in there? All right, right now, nothing. I'm going to take a look tonight at the oil-related stocks. We had some pretty significant action in some of those. We're going to look at Apache, Chesapeake, Diamond Offshore, Transocean, Tesoro, and Valero. Okay, so let's start off with Apache. Um, Apache, I got out of the call position on this day. Actually, should have got out on this day. This was the first close below the prior day low, and I should have got out here, and I waited and got out here when I saw it again. So now it went sideways and it started to push, and I was tempted to get back in yesterday, but it just didn't quite feel right to me. And then of course we've got this these support lines, resistance lines, I'm sorry, that are in here that stretch across. And now we get this big wide-ranging bar, WR bar, with it almost look like a big doji. What this spells to me, this says indecision. Okay, you open up, you swing way high, then you swing way low, and you come back into the middle. So if I'm not in Apache right now, so I'm hesitating. I'm not going to get in at this point till I see something better in terms of a setup that tells me to jump in. I mean, I'm still thinking the big picture is pretty bullish. At least I think so. If we could start to get some move up this way, so kind of sitting on the sidelines with Apache right now. The next one is Chesapeake. Chesapeake had a big move yesterday. But we're getting divergence on this move, okay? So even though it went to a higher high and everything, the RSI did not. So pretty negative. And look at this move here yesterday. This big doji, long-legged doji, and it is like almost like a hanging man, almost like over here on this doji. You see this? But this is more of a pure hanging man, which kind of signals you're in a top many times, and then if you get the confirming down move, which you did in here. Now this is a similar type situation, but it's not a pure hanging man from a candlestick standpoint. But again, I get a big bar like this, indecisive. I basically sit on the sidelines. So they just have to sit back and watch and see if it gives us something better to play. Plus the fact that we've got that divergence, negative divergence on it. Okay, the next one is Diamond Offshore. All right, this is interesting. And I did on the trade ideas page, I put a trade ideas in, and it was a little bit late in the day today when I posted it. But I want to get it on there for the record that, I am taking a trade here at the end of the day, buying puts. They're short-term puts. It's May. This is not my normal play, but I think we've got a little bit of a reversal action going on here. I was fairly bullish on this, but I'm now starting to think that this may be corrective, especially with this, if we get some follow through in here. And I'm not planning to stay in the trade very long. I'm thinking this is like a 1, 2, or 3 day trade. So we'll see if we get some follow through tomorrow and go from there. But right now, this looks like a little bit of a negative reversal pattern in here, especially with the close below the last 2 days close, okay? And that you moved to a new high, and then you came back down and closed below the last 2 days. So that's what we're going to go with. And we've got this trend line that if we get that fall through, that trend line on the RSI is going to break. So that's it on Diamond Offshore. And the details are on the Trade Ideas webpage. Next one is Transocean. Wow, Transocean. This is, I was trying to figure out what might be going on. If this is a symmetrical triangle in here, it got this big positive on good volume. Well, it's hard to tell, but I mean this, because you have this big bar distorting my scale. But there was a good size volume on here, 8 million shares when this thing broke out to the upside here. Now, apologize for my sinuses there. My allergies are kicking in. The best I could tell, it looked like it had problem getting through resistance here and then had this big reversal bar and then sold off down. So now as we come up, we approach resistance again. Now we get another big reversal bar down. Now it's pulled right back to the trend line, and I know that the earnings came out yesterday. And so, there was all this enthusiasm and after the market yesterday, and then of course on the opening today. And then it ran into, as best as I can tell, this selling. I don't know if there was some other fundamental thing or news that came out on it, but this resistance point here, everybody who had, basically bought in these areas, and now as it broke back and they got back up, they started dumping it. So I'm on the sidelines on this. Anyone who's on the sidelines, honestly, to me, again, I've got a big wide-ranging bar. I would not sit back and say, hey, jump in right now. Now, if you're in the position, you got to play defense. So you got to decide, am I going to take a loss? Where's my uncle point, etc. But in terms of analyzing this, as best as I can tell, now this dotted line I've got up here, this is as if we got a symmetrical triangle working, which is what it looks like to me. It's not unusual to get a pullback to this trend line, and this is the projection. Okay, this dotted line, you always do a parallel to this line and start it at the beginning of the symmetrical triangle, and you parallel it out, and that's the projection for the move. Now, you don't always get it, but that's where you're projecting. Okay, so the real challenge is going to be, does this hold? Does this stabilize? Does it maybe pull down to 41? Get some support in here at 41, right in the middle of the apex here, and then turn around and head back up. That's what I would be looking for if I was looking at right here. Okay, the next one is Tesoro. 2 more, and then we're done for this evening. Tesoro, honestly, I don't know what's going on with Tesoro. I mean, it's just chopping sideways. When I back it off and take a look, it just looks like corrective chop sideways. Okay, you had this big move up, several wave move up, and now it just looks like it's overlapping waves, chopping sideways. I don't really see anything that says, hey, I want to jump in. We got a reversal bar here on this top, closed down below the last 2 closes. So we got some downward move in here, but there's nothing I'm seeing that says, hey, jump in one way or the other. And the last one is Valero. And Valero is interesting. I am going to go ahead and put trade idea on this one too, and I forgot to make a note on that, to buy puts in the more, well, actually it's got to hit a trigger spot, and I'll have that identified in the trade ideas. And at first I wasn't sure that I wanted to pursue that. I saw this, we've got some divergence here on a short-term basis coming in, and then the longer term, and I thought, well, that's sometimes when you get too long in terms of showing the divergence, it's not that great. But when I back this off, and you'll see this circle over here I'm talking about, I backed this off and took a look and said, okay, let's see what's going on Valero. All of a sudden I sat back and said, look at this little pattern over here. You got this move right here with this W bottom, and then it shot to the top. Okay, so a little bit of a zigzag, W bottom, shot to the top, zigzag, W bottom, shot to the top. Okay, now the topping in here isn't exactly the same as it, but this pattern is just too eerily similar to this pattern. And so as I started to look at it a little bit closer, I saw, well, okay, they're getting divergence coming in on the RSI when they got into that top. And we are getting divergence coming in as we got to the top of that. So I thought, all right, we're going to go ahead and take a shot at this one. So I think this has got a shot at maybe pulling back. And, let's draw a trend line in here just for grins. Right in here like that. We'll see if it comes down, breaks that. Here's the 55-day. So we'll see if we get support in here. This is going to be, I don't know, that's a potential support. I wouldn't be surprised to see this come all the way back down to the 233-day moving average. So anyway, all right, that's it for tonight. So Diamond Offshore I've gotten into. And Valero, we're going to have the details on, and both the details on both of those. And then there were some other trade idea activity, and the details are on the trade idea webpage. So this has been Joe for Beyond the Chart. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll talk to you this weekend. Have a great Friday, everyone. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe so you can get access to the Trade Ideas webpage, and share this video and with friends and family. And again, have a great Friday. Thanks for stopping by.